Oh my gosh, I'm flipping through, getting excited. I was like, I had my finger on the button and then I clearly hit the button a few seconds early. Anyways, welcome everybody to Get Crackin' on Christmas. I am Jenn Shirkus, and this is a series that I host all year long. Each month I host a live. I always share my project on the third Thursday of the month, and that is when I announce when I plan to go live. That fluctuates a little bit depending on my schedule. And the whole point of this is so that I get my holiday cards done, because if I don't have a goal, it doesn't get done. And by this time of year, I just feel things get way too busy to get started from scratch. I also love this series because it gives me more time to really play with my supplies, play with different techniques. I personally don't like to make multiples of the same holiday cards. I like to switch it up. Kind of keeps my creative brain going. And so that is why I like to give myself some more time to work on these. So I work on my holiday cards all year long. It is a little weird sometimes in the spring and the summer, but it's all good. Whatever, right? And by hosting these lives, I hope that I am inspiring you to get cracking on Christmas. I also hope maybe I'm inspiring you with some techniques and some tips and some tricks. and it's just really a fun time. I encourage you, if you are watching today live or on replay, start working on your holiday cards, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You could just maybe start to cut some pattern papers, stamp and die cut some sentiments, maybe start to color in some images. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it is time to start get cracking on Christmas. So I see a bunch of you guys are joining me live. Hello, Miss Brianne, the amazing linking ninja. If you guys didn't see on my social media, I was in Ohio last weekend. And not only did I get to hang out with a lot of my crafty friends, I got to meet Brianne for the first time in real life. Like, I got to give her a big hug several times. So super, super exciting. And then she was like literally sitting across from me. It was so fun. Okay, so I did put a poll at the top. I was just curious who's started their holiday cards yet. Looks like so far 63% of you have. Yay, yay, yay. Let's see. Lots of fun people here today. Hello, hello, hello. I have all the details about my cards on my blog post. I have the link here on the screen. Everything is linked down below in the description of this video. And as I mentioned, Brianne's in the chat. So if you're here live, everything will be linked because she's amazing. Yay! Andrea says she starts making her Christmas cards right after Christmas. I love that. I think that is so, so fun. Hello, Danielle. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Sandy, Lee, Arlene. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to flip right down and get right to it. I don't want to take up too much of your time today, and I'm really, really excited to share these cards. I think these cards are so magical. I just love all the textures, all the different sparkles, all the different shine. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on these cards. And I posted a fun reel last week when I shared these cards, where basically if a company comes out with cute snowflake stamps, dies, paper, this also goes for snowmen too, I buy it. I cannot say no to a snowflake or stamp supply. It's got to be paper snowflakes. I don't like real life snowflakes, but I love them on paper. So the stamp set that I'm using today is actually from Pretty Pink Posh. It's called Snowflakes. It is still available, although it has been in my stash for a while. I always keep all of the holiday supplies that I purchase, that I'm encouraged to purchase. I keep them in a separate bin, and I don't put them away or file them away until I've used them. So I kind of flip through my holiday bin every month when I am planning my Get Crackin' on Christmas. And then I'm also using this Waffle Flower Family Christmas sentiment set. And what I love about this is there's such a great variety of holiday sentiments in this one set. So you can really switch it up. I use 2 different sentiments on these cards, and I think I'm using 2 completely different sentiments on the cards that I'm creating today. So I think that that is super, super awesome. Hi, Miss Libby. Libby thinks that these cards are so magical because I included so much purple. I was thinking of you and Brianne when I created these cards, and then when there was so much purple. Hello, I'm so glad that you just came across my live. Hello, hello. Patty says that they buy holiday cardstock all year long. They can't help it. I know, it's just so fun. Let's see. Yeah, Pam says I have the Lawn Fawn set, Frosties, that we did for Crop and Create. So definitely you could use that to create a similar card. Okay. And then the other supplies that I used is actually this Tim Holtz Idea-ology Craft Stock Sparkle paper. What's fun about this paper, is that the gold is more like a champagne, I would say. And it is such like a smooth glitter. You can't even like feel that it's glitter. And look at that sparkle. And then it is Kraft on one side, but I just loved that. So I'm using a little bit of that. That's been sitting in my stash longer than I want to admit. And then the other thing that I am using is the Lawn Fawn sequin die set. This is a great die. I feel like it's a little bit of a sleeper die, meaning like you might not think about it. You might not even see that people are using it on their cards. But it's one of those dies that I think is so good to have on hand because you can make sequins in different shapes and sizes in different papers, which I just think is so cool. So that's how I got these fun little star sequins that I ended up adding onto my card. Okay, so we're going to get started. And I was over here dancing to my intro music and realized like I didn't even pull out all my supplies yet, but it's all good. So I'm actually using the replacement nonstick mat from Tim Holtz. I actually carry these in my store. Whether you have a glass mat from Tim or not, I love this nonstick mat. You know what? I actually love it so much. I have two. And I'm going to use the less dirty one so you guys don't have to look at all that. Okay, so what I love about this nonstick mat is it sticks right down onto my glass tabletop. And it has like a little bit of tooth to it. So when I start to do this fun technique, the pencil is really going to stick to it. If you have a very smooth craft sheet, it'll still work, but you might just get different results. So we'll just see how it goes, right? And I am using my loved, very loved Distress watercolor pencils. Let me know in the chat. Are you guys sick of me using these pencils yet? If you are, it probably won't matter too much because I'm just so inspired by them. So I am going to continue to use them and do my best to enable you guys to use yours as well. Nikki says, I can't believe I don't have that sequin die set from Lawn Fawn. I'm ashamed of myself. Well, I guess Nikki is going to be writing up an order today, right? Okay, so we're going to get started. And what I did first is, I'm trying to remember what colors I used. Do you think I wrote them down? No. But I do think I used a little bit of cracked pistachio. So I'm going to start with that. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to take my Distress watercolor pencil. This is cracked pistachio. And I'm dipping it into a cup of water so that the pigment of the pencil will get a little soft. And that way, we're going to be able to scribble some of this onto this nonstick mat, all right? And basically, I'm going to want to get enough down to make my background. Libby just said, laugh out loud, Jen. Tell me your opinion, but I don't really care what you say. I actually really do care what you say. I'm interested. I'm curious. However... even if you didn't want to see anything more with Distress watercolor pencils, I would still use them because being artistic, you got to use what you love, right? You can only be inspired by what you love. And so that's where we're going. Let's see. Okay. People are loving them. No, never going to get sick of them. I love them. Please keep using them. And then like Danielle says, yeah, like you're going to stop using them. Diana has the watercolor pencils and loves them. Amy says never, keep using them. And then Kristen said, no, I had to buy a bunch of the pencils for this. I love it. Okay. So see, we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page, right? And Nikki says, I don't mean to judge, but that water looks clean. It's very clean, Nikki. I was away last weekend. I'm going to grab a little bit of evergreen bough next. I was away last weekend and I did leave some pretty dirty water. But I just cleaned it. So it's very clean right now. Doesn't last long though. Doesn't last long. Yay, Terry's using her distress watercolor pencils right now. I love that. All right, this is some salvaged patina. I think I might, I'm confusing, I think. I'm trying to think what I created last week. I don't know if I put evergreen bough in my original cards, but it's okay. What's fun about this technique is we can switch it up. And if these are not your colors, if you guys don't know me well yet, I like to use non-traditional colors for holiday cards. But if you like to do more traditional, you can totally switch up these colors. Okay. So that was Salvage Patina. Next, we're going to get into what Libby and Brienne are waiting for. So I'm going to do a little bit of Shaded Lilac. And you'll see I'm just really rolling my pencil on the non-stick mat. I'm not holding it like a pencil and scribbling like this because not a lot of pigment will lay down. I'm really rolling it on its side. My distress watercolor pencils are also very loved, so it doesn't take as long to get the pigment soft because I use them so much. But if you have brand new pencils, you might need to leave them in the cup of water a little bit longer than I am. All right, we're going to add just a smidge of wilted violet. And I'm essentially trying to make it long enough so that it's going to fit my whole background. So about 5.5 inches long is what I'm going for here. And next I'm going to use some picked raspberry. Ooh, Sophie just opened their Shaded Lilac Distress Oxide. I love that. So fun. That's what's fun about all the distress products is you start to get to know the color palette really well. And that's when you can start to really experiment and play with the different mediums and see what different looks you can get from the different mediums, right? And Danielle says, good thing blue and purple go so well together, right? All right, and then this is just some spun sugar. We're going to finish it off with this. And I'm just rolling that around so that that pigment lays down. Now remember, like I said, this craft sheet, this nonstick craft sheet, which is the replacement craft sheet from Tim Holtz, it has a little bit of tooth to it. So it really holds these pigments really well. Okay. And so Barbara says, I don't have the distress pencils, but I do have some of the distress crayons. I don't think they'll have the same effect. So they won't have the same look, Barbara, but you can do this and get something fun as well. Okay. So it'll look different, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's what's fun. You want to use what you have. Now I'm just going to use my distress sprayer. We're going to add some water, get things real nice and fluid. Okay. And then I am going to grab some distress watercolor cardstock. It's the only watercolor cardstock I ever use. There's a smooth side and a textured side. I am going to use the smooth side and we're going to just plop this down. Now see how my pigment kind of fit that area, and I'm giving it little presses. And then what I'm going to do is swipe up. Okay. And now feel free to let things run and drip and have fun. But now what we're going to do, because I want some more color over here, I'm going to make sure I'm swiping the same colors, but dip in some more. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense. Okay. So you can double dip, but you want to kind of keep things in the same color rows. And I kind of, your cardstock's going to naturally, your watercolor cardstock's going to naturally bend. So I'm just bending it back, okay, so that it's a little bit more flat so everything doesn't pool on the edges. All right. And then I'm going to just kind of take this and kind of pluck it in just to kind of pick up some more. And let those drips do their magic. Okay. All right. So we're going to let this one rest. Okay. Let it do its thing. And I'm going to wipe this up, but we're going to, you know what? I'm actually not going to wipe it up. What I did for these two is I did wipe it up and then made a whole nother background. But let's actually play with what's on here because there's still a lot of yumminess on here. And who knows what we're going to get. And that's the fun of it, right? So this is just another sheet of distress watercolor cardstock. And so let's just kind of get some more going here. Oh yeah. Now, what I do when I'm not live is I let these dry naturally. I think you get some really, really fun effects if you can let them dry naturally. But for the sake of the live, I am going to touch them with the heat tool a little bit to get things going. And then I'll explain what I'm going to do next. But if you are working at home at your own pace where you don't have, you know, any time constraints, I would set these aside to dry because that's when you start to get a lot more fun pooling and pigments and water veins and like all of these cool things start to happen that you don't get as much when you dry it because you kind of rush the process. All right. So I did not dry this all the way. It is still pretty damp, but now what I'm going to do is just kind of pick some of this up. And again, I'm always making sure that my colors are in line with the colors. I'm not putting teal over pink or pink over teal. Okay. All right. We'll set that aside. We'll see what we can get on this one. Okay. So I'm going to wipe this off. I love it. Libby just said, raise your hand if you're going to be in the East Coast Fawnies class on Friday. I love that. Heather raised her hand. Brienne raised her hand. Yeah, Shari and I will be teaching our S'more the Merrier class, which I always love to teach lawn fawn classes, but I really love when my East Coast Fawnie bestie joins me. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to take my distress sprayer and I'm just kind of dribbling some water onto this to get things to kind of texturize and move a little bit more. What's cool about the distress sprayer, because everybody's like, why do you need a sprayer that just says distress on it? But what is cool about it is you can do a full pump of this and get a nice fine mist, okay? Or you can just gently toggle it, and that's when I say it spits. I don't really think Tim wants me to say his distress sprayer spits, but that's kind of what it does. It like dribbles, and that's what I wanted to happen here, okay? All right, so I'm not going to dry these. We're going to see how long we can leave them. Again, just gently bend them so things aren't pooling only on the edges. And we're going to just see how much these will dry on their own before we have to force any dry time due to being live. Okay. I'm going to move this mat away because I'm noticing on camera it's like a little bit, the lines are a little, I think, distracting. But that Tim Holtz replacement nonstick mat is what I use all the time for techniques like that because it really grips onto the inks, the crayons, the pencils, the paints, the sprays, whatever medium you want to use, it really grips onto it because it has a little bit of texture. I say texture, but it won't leave texture on your project, but it just has a little bit of tooth to it so that it will hold on to it. Okay. So we're taking another sheet of distress watercolor cardstock, and this is where we're going to start to play with our stamp set, okay? And I am also teaching, coming up, my mixed media in season online class, and it's making mixed media cards. There is an exclusive stamp set if you want to sign up and get the stamp set delivered to you, or you can sign up at a reduced rate and shop your stash for stamps. And the stamp set that is exclusive is Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. It's images from Tim's catalog. I got to pick and choose different images, resize them, and combine them into a unique set. It's a red rubber stamp set. And so the techniques we're doing work really, really well with red rubber. You can work with them on clear. It's just a little bit trickier. Somebody actually just messaged me this morning asking me if they could use clear stamps. And the answer is yes. It's just when you're putting the pencils directly on clear, it sometimes takes a little bit more patience and a little bit more work. Okay. All right. I'm going to close this poll. Have you started your holiday cards yet? Looks about like 63% of you have started. Woohoo. That was fun. I just figured that would be something fun to start the live with. Okay. So for this part, I like to just use an acrylic block. So I'll have a little bit more control over the pressure that I'm giving this image once I add all my pigment to it, okay? And so you most certainly could use a stamping platform, but I would recommend not using a stamping platform for this. So I'm going to start with picked raspberry, a nice bright pink. And again, we're wetting the tip of that pencil. And I'm going to go ahead and again, roll my pencil on its side. You don't want to go upright. You want to just kind of roll and just see how things start to lay down. Now, because I've already used this stamp set to do this technique, it's already going to hold that pigment a little bit better. Okay, so you can kind of see it there. This is where you got to practice, you've got to play, you've got to kind of see what situation you have. If your stamp looks really wet, you don't need to mist it. If it seems a little dry, you can mist it. I use the distress sprayer. I usually go about 8 to 10 inches up and do one pump of mist of water. But this looks pretty wet, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp it. Okay. And that actually looks a little dry, I can tell. It's not as blobby as I like it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mist from 8 to 10 inches away. I'm going to actually do it like in the air over here. And we're going to kind of stamp it again. Okay. Both of those actually look a little dry. And this is just a result of me chatting at you guys and not necessarily working as quickly as I normally do. And I'm just using water and my flour sackcloth to kind of wipe out the pigment out of this stamp. You're not ruining your stamps. They're good to go. They're going to stamp beautifully with inks. Libby says, raise your hand if you're a Jenn groupie and you're taking the mixed media in season class too. Thank you, Miss Libby. All right, so let's do our second one, and I'm going to kind of move a little bit faster so I get the results that I want. Krista says, late to the party, but excited to get cracking today. So grateful to have so many cards done this year. Yay, I love that, Krista. And Heather says, question, once you clean that stamp, you can still use it for regular old ink stamping. Yes. Yep. You can use ink. You can go back to pencils. You can do whatever you would like. Stamping these snowflakes, I'm using the same colors that we use to create our background. So this is spun sugar. And again, I'm going to not talk as much, but you can see I'm really laying on a lot of pigment. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it. And if it's blobby like that, I love that, because when that starts to dry, it ends up looking so cool, you guys. It looks so, so cool. I love it. In my software, some of you guys, I'm trying to see, some of you guys, oh, you're using a pink hand waving, I guess saying you're doing the mixed media class. But in my software, it just says hand pink waving. It doesn't show it to me. Oh boy. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do some blues. So for this one here, I'm going to use Salvage Patina. And again, I'm just rolling. And if you've got to dip your pencil in again, go for it. You can see I'm really kind of just slopping it on. That's what I love about this, is it's so easy and so fun that you don't have to really think about it. I'm going to mist with waters. See if we can get another impression. Okay. And then we're wiping it clean. Karen says, I guess I'm getting cracking. I've been prepping things for the Create With Us Cozy Cats. Yes, I'm a bit behind. No, that's great. Cozy Cats is another class I have upcoming. So if you are behind in some holiday cards and you want some guidance, that's a good one to take for sure. Okay, and then we're going to do this big one here. I'm going to get another piece of distressed watercolor cardstock. And I think this one I did cracked pistachio. And I'm just rolling on, and you can see I almost like dip and plop, right? And we're going to go ahead and stamp this. And this time I'm going to actually add a little bit more pigment before I stamp again. That's the difference really between the clear stamps and the red rubbers. They just don't really hold on to or grip the pigment as well. Doesn't mean you can't use them, because here I am using them, but it's just not as grippy, I guess. Now, I love this, and this is going to end up looking really pretty when it looks blobby like this. So don't be, that's kind of what I want. This, to me, looks like I just stamped it with an ink pad, and that's not the look I wanted. If I wanted it to look like I stamped with an ink pad, I would have stamped it with an ink pad, right? Right. Okay. Where did my stamp set go? Here we go. So we're just going through most of these stamp images, going through all the colors. Next we'll do some shaded lilac. We'll go ahead and stamp. Gonna add some more. My shaded lilac sometimes brings in some seedless preserves because my the two are together in the tin and they mingle a little bit, which I actually love when that happens. So that doesn't discourage me much. And now we'll do a little bit of wilted violet. Yeah, love it. Brienne says she's not a very good linking ninja today, but she can assure me it's my fault. I'm guessing it's because she is working on kitting as well for me right now. I have coming up is a virtual creative journey art retreat. I am hosting my creative journey art retreat live in person on Cape Cod in November. But I was able to offer a few kits to those of you that want to take it virtually. It will be recorded ahead of time. So, you know, it's not during the event that I'm going to be teaching, but it's a really, really fun event. And there are a few kits of those left available. But I'm guessing that's why Brienne said what she said. All right, I'm restamping these picked raspberry snowflakes just because I needed them to be a little bit more blobby. The first ones that I did were just a little too dry, and to me, again, it looks like I just stamped them with an ink pad, and that's not the look we're going for, right? Okay, so I am going to set these guys, you know what, actually, I'm going to add some water droplets, especially to this sheet where things were a little bit more uniform, and this will help kind of break things up and look a little bit better. But I'm going to set these aside for a minute. And now we're going to go ahead and add the heat tool to these. But look at how yummy these are. I just love these so much. We've got some pooling. We've got some veins from the ink. We've got a lot of yumminess happening. So, but now we want to dry them because we are going to stamp on top of these. So I don't want things to kind of mush or mingle. Hey, Tess. Nice to see you. Hi, Arlene. Yay. Pippa says, loving this technique, would never have thought of doing this. I love that. I forgot to put my system in do not disturb, so I'm doing that now. Sorry. I don't think it mattered to you guys, but a phone call is coming in. Okay. So we're just kind of drying these. Again, I would love them to dry completely on their own, but at least they got started on their own. And lifting your cardstock up while you're drying with the Ranger heat tool is key, you guys, because the Ranger heat tool is a diffused heat. An embossing gun would really, like, if I had any pools of pigment or pools of water, it really would like blow it around. But the Ranger heat tool dries it, but it doesn't blow things around. It's also not going to scorch my cardstock. So I can literally, as you can see, I'm holding my heat tool in one spot and I'm not going to get any brown spots on my cardstock. But by holding it up so that it's not flat against the table, it's allowing the heat to go through the paper, bounce off my table, and also heat it from the back. And I also like to just kind of heat it on the back. That will help things flatten out again. When you're working with water, even on watercolor cardstock, it's normal that your paper is going to kind of warp and bend and stuff. And don't worry too much about that. It'll always flatten out once you get it on your project. But look how yummy these are. I absolutely love how these turned out. All right, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these smaller snowflakes that I didn't use, and we are going to add them onto this block. And when I add them on here, I'm kind of putting them in a sprinkle so that they're kind of, you know, making fun little clusters, but not in any really uniform way. Okay. And now I'm going to actually grab out of my grays, I am going to use Lost Shadow. It's a really soft, pretty gray. And we are going to add this directly to the stamps. And I'll kind of show you. It's the fun little stamping that you see behind the colorful snowflakes. Okay. Tracy says, I've been loving the distress pencils. I love that so much. So I have 2 distress technique classes all about distress watercolor pencils. So if you haven't tried those yet, definitely check them out. And then the mixed media class, we're going to actually make cards. I say we're making 5, but we're probably going to make 6 because I have another card design brewing in my brain. So we're going to go ahead and stamp these. And the blobbier, the better for the look that I'm going for. But for the mixed media in season class, it's the stamp set and the distress watercolor pencils. That's essentially all you need. I'm going to use a few other supplies in class, but they really are optional. And you can choose after class if it's something, you know, if it's a supply you don't love, you don't need to invest in it. But so I'm just doing some clusters up in the two corners, okay? And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And Brienne's saying the cards for the mixed media class are so pretty. She got to see them in person. It's always so much better to see cards in person. I wish there was a way we could do that. No matter how I photograph them, I always do little videos. I wish I could share them with you in person. So as I'm stamping these clusters, I am making sure I'm stamping off the side. I'm turning my block so that things will look a little different. It's not going to look all so uniform. And we're just adding some more texture to our backgrounds. Let's see here. All right. Put a couple more down here. All right, that's good. Just a little bit. We don't want too much. And I used Lost Shadow because it's a soft gray and it's not going to really take away too much from the other colors in the cards, right? Oh, did I lose a stamp along the way? Probably. I don't see it now, but it's, oh, here it is. Got it. Found it. All set. Okay. So we are going to set these guys aside. And again, the blobbier, the better. It's going to look awesome. It's going to look really, really good. And I'm noticing how much softer these are today than these that I originally did. And I love both. I really think sometimes it depends on your mood. And again, techniques like this, you're never going to get two cards to look the same, and that's totally okay. And that's like a fun thing to embrace as well. But so these were a lot brighter than these, and I love both of them, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let those dry. And now we're going to add the heat tool to these guys. Yay! Cheryl says, I'm taking the mixed media class and the in-person class in November, which means she'll be here on Cape Cod with me. And she says she can't wait. I'm so excited. It's like one of my most favorite things I do all year is my in-person creative journey art retreat. We get to sit and look out at the ocean all weekend and create together. And it's pretty magical. I love it so much. Terry says, I love the technical term blobby. Yep. You can always count on me for really professional technical terms. But I can promise you'll understand what I'm meaning, hopefully. But yeah. All right. Maybe let me know in the chat while I'm letting these dry. Do you guys like to stick to traditional holiday card colors, or do you like to branch out and do some non-traditional? What I love about snowflake cards is even maybe if you don't celebrate Christmas, I think snowflake cards can be sent as winter greetings, winter birthdays, winter thank yous. They don't have to be holiday cards, which I think is also really great. You can choose to put sentiments on them later, depending on what you will need at the time. But we're just going to finish up drying these. And again, I'm lifting up my paper from my table. That's helping heat it from the back as well as from the front. And again, using this Ranger heat tool, I don't have to worry about burning my paper or having those blobs kind of spew out or anything like that, which is really, really great. Danielle says that the Creative Journey Art Retreat is still on the bucket list. I love that. And Sandy likes to do a mix of traditional and non-traditional based on who she's sending her cards to. That's what Andrea said as well. And Krista says that she's been Jenn-abled. She's branching out into non-traditional colors. I have lots of rainbows in this year's stack. I love that. I don't know. If you do live somewhere that has winter, it's gray and blah. And so I like to just burst somebody's mailbox with some color, right? All right, so let's get these snowflakes all die cut out. So I am going to line them up and add some of my best ever Kraft tape. And yeah, I think it's this one. Just remembering which dies went to which snowflakes. So I feel like I'm lining up one wrong. Maybe it's this one. This one. Where's this one go to? Did I not? Well, let me start to tape things down and then it'll probably make a lot more sense to me. So I am using my best ever Kraft tape right here. And I reuse my pieces of tape over and over and over and over and over again. So that's what I'm using now is some very loved pieces. I will say with watercolor, distress watercolor pencils, I don't like to press the tape down on the watercolored part too much because it can kind of pick up some of those colors. So I recommend really just adding the tape to the metal die and the paper outside of it. And then that way you won't pick up any of the pigment. Sorry, I'm really getting confused by these dies all of a sudden. I did fine when I first made my cards. Now I'm doubting myself. But so I add the tape and I really press it on the metal and on the outside of where the snowflake is. And then that way we won't pick up any of that pigment from the watercolor pencils because that's the yummy stuff. And we don't want to lose that. Okay. All right, let's see what's going on here. Is this one this one? Yes, and this one's this one. See? Process of elimination. I knew my brain would figure it out eventually. And Susan says, I love Christmas and all of the colors. I love that. And again, what's really fun is pretty much any project I share, if it's in non-traditional holiday colors, you can totally swap out the colors, right? Use the inspiration, but swap out those colors. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and run these both through my die cut machine, which is just off camera over here. I use the Spellbinders Platinum 6. And so we're just going to go ahead and die cut these guys. And then we'll go ahead and get our second set die cut as well. I feel like my brain is still in a little bit of a brain fog. I traveled to Ohio last weekend to hang out with some crafty friends. And I was joking with everybody. I don't know who booked my flight home. It was me. But because it was a very early flight and I had to get up at like 4 a.m. to get to the airport. And it's just thrown me for a loop this week. I went to bed early on Sunday, but I just feel a little bit out of sorts. My brain's not quite there, but that's also kind of a common thing with me, right? All right. These guys down. Let me know in the chat, if you're with me live, or if you're watching on replay, leave a comment, but are you working on your holiday cards while you hang out with me today? Again, whether you're watching on live or replay. That was kind of my thought process. Years ago, I had asked people, if you didn't get a chance to send out holiday cards and you normally do, how come you didn't? And a bunch of people just said they ran out of time. And I was like, well, how can I give people some time, right? Man, if I could figure that out, I would be rich. But I thought, well, if I host a live, many of you guys like to join me, so you can use this time, unless you're watching while you're at work. You can use this time to start working on your holiday cards. That was kind of my thought process back in the day when I started doing Get Crackin' on Christmas like this. All right, we'll run this second set through. Awesome. Rachel says that she's hoping to start holiday cards this weekend. And Cheryl says, I'm live, meaning she's here with me right now and she's working on holiday cards. That's great. Hello, Catherine. Love it. Love it. All right, so all these little pieces of best ever craft tape, you can best bet I'm going to be using them again. They never go to waste. I use them until they're almost disintegrating, which is just so funny to me. Sometimes I'm like, Jen, let that piece go. So I'm going to toss these two because those were the two I was not super happy with. But you can see I'm just essentially getting my second set of snowflakes. So we're going to be able to make 2 cards at once today. I love it. Lee's trying to finish up Halloween cards. Lee, I am all for that. So I think that's amazing. I actually hope to get a bunch of Halloween cards out in the mail this year. I made so many and I love Halloween so much that that's what I hope to do. Jane's watching while she's working. Hello, hello. Hopefully it'll make the workday go by a little bit faster. All right. All right. So my whole vision for this card, as I was thinking it out in my head, is I really just wanted it to be this sense of magic. And I really wanted all kinds of fun textures, right? Which we've already achieved with our background, right? We have all this fun stuff. Then we stamped some blobby snowflakes. And then we have more texture with our snowflakes that we stamped with the distressed watercolor cardstock. Well, I wasn't done. I was like, I want a little bit more snowflakes. or a little bit more texture. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to trim these down so that I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off of all 4 sides. I'm going to just zap these with the heat tool real quick because I see some wet and I don't want to smear and make streaks of gray. Let's see. Oh, Jennifer's watching, no crafting, recovering from hip replacement. I hope you recover quickly. Now, Rachel says that their kids are all grown, so no more Halloween cards. Well, Rachel, I have been on a soapbox this year reminding everybody that Halloween cards are for everyone. I think they're so fun to create. So if you're creating them, it brings you happiness and fond memories of past Halloweens. And then I think you can send Halloween cards to adults, and that's what I'm doing because I don't really have a lot of kids in my life. Some of them will get Halloween cards, but I'm sending a lot of Halloween cards to adults. And you know what? I know it's going to make them smile because they're going to get some happy mail in their mailbox. Tess says, sadly, I'm working, and then I get FOMO that I'm not crafting. Well, I'm glad you're here, Tess. FOMO and all. FOMO and all. All right, so I'm just taking 1/8 of an inch off of all 4 sides so that we'll be able to use that really pretty, sparkly cardstock from Tim and have some of that peeking through. And I also like that by doing this, it kind of cleans up your edges a little bit and makes things look a little bit more, I don't know, put together, I guess. All right. All right, Rachel. So next year, Halloween cards, right? And Melissa says, yes, Jen, you inspired me to make Halloween cards this year, and I gave them to my adult children, and they love them. See? Yay! And Barb says all of her Halloween cards go to adults. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's great. All right. And Brienne will know I've been on my paper distresser kick lately. Brienne's been helping me get some blog posts done. I've had this tool for a million years and I love it, but I've been on a real kick of using it lately because it's so simple, but it adds some really fun texture. So all the little slots on this are the same. And I just put my cardstock in it and I just kind of rub back and forth. It's a great thing to get your aggressions out. You just want to make sure you're doing it in little chunks so that you're reinforcing behind the cardstock with your fingers so that you don't bend your background. But we're just roughing up all 4 sides. Okay, we are going to be using this. This is an optional supply for the mixed media online class. It's not necessary, but I just love, like, look at the difference. I just think it adds a lot. And then Brienne says, yes, the paper distresser has been working as hard as the chunky glitter. I kind of get on kicks, right? My creative brain gets on kicks and I kind of get on to using certain things a lot. Yay, Barb says Halloween's her favorite holiday. All right. Oh, yay. Heather took my Witchy Wishes online class and she gave the cards to neighbors in her fourplex as part of her annual Boo Buckets. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. I hope that they enjoyed getting them. Right? Okay, so that's all I did for that, right? And now what we're going to do is add this onto the sparkled cardstock that I already pre-cut. I had some extra snowflakes when I was making my original samples. I'm just going to kind of get all these little pieces because I already cut my sequins ready to go. Okay, so what I like to do for this is I'm actually going to add foam tape to the back so that we'll have some dimension on top of the sparkle cardstock. Brienne says, as a genabled girly, I appreciate you bringing things out of retirement as often as you do. Yeah, I definitely genable, but I definitely use the same stuff over and over and over again. What were we talking about this weekend? Because we were in a room full of crafty people. So obviously we were talking crafts. And I can't remember. I'm trying to remember now, but there was some new supply out that's similar to an older supply, right? And that happens. And I was like, yeah, but I love my old supply, so I'm good. I'd rather buy new Snowflake stamps, right, with my money than maybe new scissors or, you know, I don't know. That's just the way I roll. I was on a tight budget when I first started crafting. I was a young 20-something-year-old when I really got into it. And I managed a paper crafting store, which I loved, but you know, I wasn't making $1 million. And I had college bills to pay. And so I feel like some of my ways are still the same, where I work on a fairly, I try to budget. I try. It's the best we can do, right? All right. So we've got foam tape behind all of this. Because this is a sparkle cardstock, and it, even though this one is a bit smoother, Lawn Fawn's has some texture to it, which is what I use the most. I'm still going to add some wet glue to my foam just so that I can make sure things are going to stick really well. I do not like to give cards away and have them fall apart on people. Especially I feel like people display them for a while. And I just don't want them to fall apart if they are on display. I am almost due for a new Lawn Fawn glue tube. We're getting towards the end here. But I'm just putting a little bit of wet glue on each strip here, just to kind of give it some extra stick. There we go. And what I like to do, so we'll get this on here. And then I'm going to take my larger acrylic blocks and just put them on top, just to kind of rest while I do my other one. Now this one, I'm doing pink at the top, and then this one I'll do the teal at the top. I kind of flipped it just to make things look a little different. So usually when I'm with friends, I'm kind of the picture taker. I do the selfies and the group photos and everything. And this weekend I didn't take one single photo. So I had everybody send me their photos that they took of us. But I didn't get one single photo of Shari, Kelly, and I. We were just together in July, but we were working. So what was fun about this is we weren't working. You know. But I kind of was like mad at myself. All right, and we'll just move this over. Again, it just gives a nice weight so that glue will set. What tool are you using to clear the glue path? It's just, excuse me, it's just a pokey tool. It's nothing fancy. It's just my impatientness, quick way of getting things to go. It's because the glue tube's almost out. So that's happening. Let's see. Yeah, Brienne says that she didn't take any either, and that is really unlike her. We were just in the moment, Brienne. Cheryl says, I noticed you use an ATG tape gun. Where do you buy your refills from? I marked my box. The last time I bought was 2013. I had taken a break from crafting for a bunch of years. So my ATG gun is not the typical one that most crafters have. Mine is the wider width. I just have always liked that one, even though it was never the pretty pink. And I get my tape refills from Tape Jungle. And they're really affordable. They come in a box of a bunch of rolls, and that's what I use a lot. Melissa says she saw the group photo from the weekend, and I would have loved to be in a room full of amazing crafty humans. It was a lot of fun. Amy says, I just received my distressed watercolor pencil order. If I put them in the tin wet, will it contaminate the others? Is that as easy as scribbling color off? If so, yeah. So mine are loved, right? You can see, and you can see here, like tumbled glass right here has some peacock feathers on it. If for some reason you needed to have a true color, right? Over here, we've got some Uncharted Mariner on my Mermaid Lagoon. What you can do is just dip it in your cup of water and just wipe that extra color off. It is very easy to get that extra color off. I don't worry about that too much, but yeah, you definitely can. Okay. All right. So now that we have these done, okay, what we're going to do is start to add our snowflakes. Now, I already pre-gold embossed my sentiments, just so that you guys didn't have to watch me do that part. And again, I used this set from Waffle Flower. It's called Family Christmas. And what I love about it is there are so many different sentiments in here. And so the 2 cards on my blog have 2 different sentiments. And then now these are 2 more different sentiments. And I just think that that is fun. And I'm kind of putting my placement of my sentiment here. And I'm really going to just follow the same thing that I did, the same placement that I did with my original cards. So I'm not going to have to put too much thought into it. Do you know what's happening over here, you guys? I just have to share with you. These are all my almost done Lawn Fawn glue tubes because I end up giving myself a new one so I don't have to fight with it during a live. That's what's happening. Okay. So I am going to, again, just follow the design of my original cards. And this snowflake, I want to put down flat underneath my sentiment. So I'm just going to kind of do that. We'll find the one over here. And I love to do a mix of flat and popped up because I think that that is going to add a lot of dimension and texture as well. I think that's super fun. And then the other one that I did flat was this cracked pistachio one. And that's going to go over here. And this one I am going to have it go off the edge a little bit because we cut that 1/8 inch off. I like to kind of go off of the frame. I think that adds a lot of interest as well. Yay, Heather says, I'm really liking those backgrounds. I got to try that technique next time I get my pencils out to play. I love that. And Libby says, I have you on my office TV with my laptop open to comment. Now I need to go upstairs for lunch. So I guess I'll open you on my phone too. You're welcome for 3-in-1 views. Thanks, Libby. Thanks. Appreciate it. Can always count on friends, right? Okay, so we got all of these guys flat. The sentiments are not down. I was just using those for placement. Okay, everything else is going to get popped. So I'm just going to grab my foam squares. And we're just going to go to town. Let's just get, and when I add my foam squares, I want to keep them in the center because we are going to do some overlapping. So I don't want to put them all the way to the edge so that will be easier. Okay. And I know Tim talks about this a lot on his lives, compartmental crafting. So if you wanted to make a bunch of these cards, right, that look the same, you know, make a whole bunch of these backgrounds, switch up the colors and get a whole bunch of those done. And then create a whole bunch of the snowflakes and then die cut them all. But you can see how quickly I am going to be able to get 2 cards made, right? By having all of those elements done, which I love. I love. And that's why it was easy to make 2 when I first designed this for my blog. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it at 2 because if you haven't started your holiday cards yet, I figure this will show you it's not that complicated to get 2 going, or 3 or 4 or a set of 5 or whatever. And hopefully this inspires you, right? I love these gray snowflakes in the background. I think it's just a little extra something, which I absolutely love. Oh, I did forget to stamp a snowflake, you guys. That's why a die was missing. That's okay, but I had one more teal snowflake with the evergreen bow. Oh well. It's all good for today. But that's why I was so confused by the dies. It makes more sense now. Okay. And then we'll get some foam behind our sentiments. Yay! Robin sent 14 Halloween cards this year. I love that. That's great. And again, we want that little purple snowflake to peek out. And since I'm missing a teal snowflake, I'm actually going to go over a little bit farther on the left than I originally did. I can hear I've got a woodpecker out at my bird feeder. Starting to learn the sounds and who's coming to visit. All right. So all the placement is done, but now we've got to do the other magic, which is all of my glittering. So what I'm going to use today is distress rock candy, and I store it in my glitter storage container. And I'm also going to use distress rock candy clear. And that's like, to me, this is like sprinkling magic on cards. I am obsessed with it. But so for when I use distress rock candy, I like to use my distress collage medium. I like that it dries a little bit faster than the Lawn Fawn glue tube. And I also like that it just holds on to the chunk of the rock candy, okay? Because it's not an ultrafine glitter, so you don't want to use your quickie glue pen. That is not going to work. And I'm just taking my distress collage medium. I'm not perfectly doing it, but I am just filling in some of the white areas on the snowflakes. I'm not, again, putting too much thought into it. And if a snowflake blobbed a lot more, that's okay. I just have a little less white space to add the rock candy, okay? So we're just going wherever. There's no rhyme or reason. It's going to sparkle and look yummy no matter what. I'm going to bring my original cards up to the screen in a few minutes. This is not going to look as magical while it's drying, but it will look magical once it's dry. So I will bring up my dry cards onto the screen in just a minute. So here's our first one. And I always leave a spoon in with my distress rock candy in my glitter storage container. And I'm just pouring generously my rock candy over where I just did the distress collage medium, okay? And then my back of my spoon, I'll just do gentle taps just to make sure that that glitter is really going in. Now, the reason why I like my my glitter storage container is I'll just hold this at an angle and dump, and I don't get glitter everywhere. Like clean glittering for the win. Okay, so that's the first one. And then we'll go ahead and quickly do the second one. Hello, Melissa. Ooh, Beth made Halloween treat boxes for her granddaughter's preschool class. I love that. I bet you got very excited. I bet you got some excited responses about that. And then Kathy says, hello, friends. Hello, hello. Libby's asking why I'm not using my Lawn Fawn glue tube. So I find that the Distress Collage medium dries a bit quicker than the glue tube. And I feel like it holds on to the chunk of the rock candy a bit better. Now, could you use your glue tube? For sure. For sure, you could. I just really like to use my Distress Collage medium when I'm doing anything chunky in the glitter world. I use my Lawn Fawn glue tube for paper to paper application typically. Okay. So we'll go ahead here. I think maybe Libby might have been walking upstairs to make lunch when I said that. All right. And if you don't have any holes, you can kind of just make up where you want some sparkle. There again, nobody's going to judge your sparkle placement. For sure, for sure. All right. Melissa says she finally got some Distress rock candy. And she said she was holding out because she was trying to save her pennies, but she shared it with her daughters, and there is a lot in there. Oh yeah, it lasts forever. Like I've had this tub forever and I haven't added any to it. And you guys know how much I glitter. Okay. But again, having this glitter storage container really helps kind of keep the glitter contained. So that is rock candy. That's what I'm doing with the rock candy. Now, what I am doing next is I'm going to use the new Distress Rock Candy Clear. Okay. Now, this is regular rock candy. And then they just came out with, they call this Chunky. The Distress Rock Candy Chunky. This is Distress Rock Candy Chunky. This is Distress Rock Candy Clear. All right. Now, this chunky glitter, which is the Distress, is different than that I love, Lawn Fawn Chunky. Okay. You can see the Lawn Fawn Chunky, which is on the right, is more iridescent and there's a lot more colors to it. And then this one is clear. Okay. I love them both. There's a time and a place and a look and a feel for both in my world, because you guys know I like to glitter all of the things. So it doesn't mean I'm never going to use Lawn Fawn Chunky glitter again. No, no, no. It just means I'm choosing when to use what, depending on the look that I like to go with. Libby says, I like to hear your glue and glitter rules repeated. Thank you. Sorry I made you repeat it. No, I love to repeat it. It's all good. I know, rules. And I say rules in quotes. It's just like how I like to glitter. It doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Now I'm going to throw you guys for a loop. Using this, I like to use my glossy accents, and I'll explain why. While I am going to add my Distress Rock Candy Chunky, okay, what I did is I added it here and there on my sentiment. I added it on the edging. See that coming up on the light, the edging of my card. But I don't want it to be like just a straight line of chunky. So what I'm going to do with my glossy accents is I'm going to kind of skip it along. And then you'll see how I add my glitter. I'm okay if it doesn't hit everywhere that I put glossy accents. And that's the magic to me. That's where it looks more organic and more magical. However, having it with glossy accents, if it doesn't have glitter hit to it, it'll at least have a little bit of shine. Okay. And I like that look too. Again, we're all about adding the textures. So I am dragging, I like to use the Baby Glossy Accents bottle. It's literally the best thing ever. Don't buy a big bottle of Glossy Accents ever again. I just think this clogs less, and it still lasts you quite a while. But I'm just like dip and dabbing along all these rough edges, okay? I'm not doing like a straight line. It's like drips and dabs, okay? You could even add some of this to the tips of some of your snowflakes if you want. I'm going to grab a sip of water in a second. I feel my throat is getting a tickle. Okay. And then this is where I break my rules. I do touch this glitter, but it's not the type of glitter that's going to be with you forever. But the reason why is I take a pinch of it and I just sprinkle. I want that sprinkle look. I don't want to dump a whole spoonful on it, because then you're not going to get the here and there and hitting at these random spots. Does this make sense, you guys? I really think it makes a big, big difference. And I swear every time I'm live, I dump glitter out of my glitter storage container. But it doesn't, this glitter won't stay with you forever. I'll show you. It's very easy to get it off of your hands. So don't be afraid, okay? But there we go. So can you see how it's here and there and not everywhere that I put glossy accents? Okay. Let me just move what I just kind of made a mess. Because I'm looking at comments, getting excited about sharing glittering with people. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing with this card. So I'm just adding a little bit of glossy accents, dabbing it, like dip and dab on the bottom of the sentiment. And then I'm just kind of dotting or dabbing or dashing along this rough edge that we did with the paper distressor. If you didn't use the paper distressor, you could still do this. It would still look cool. Right? And if you want, you can kind of add a little bit to the tips of some of the snowflakes. Okay. And then I take it, a pinch of it, kind of like you're adding salt to a recipe, right? A pinch of salt. I don't really know. I don't do that. I don't cook, but I feel like that's what you do. Let me know in the comments if I'm off. Okay. And I'm just kind of working my way around and sprinkling. And this is the way to get it to fall really organically on that glossy accents. And it's not in big blobs. It's very, very sporadic, I guess. Coming up with all the terms. So let me show you. Oh, so to get this off your hands, right? We can see it's like clinging to my hands. I just take a dry paintbrush and just rub it over the glitter storage container, and all that extra glitter that's kind of sticking to your hands because of the moistures, it's all gone. I don't have any glitter on my hands now. So that's why I don't touch many glitters. Don't touch. But I don't mind touching this glitter. It doesn't stick with you forever. So let me bring in my dry sample, but see how the light's hitting it, but it's not everywhere. See down here how it's doing that? Yeah. So Tim says he only uses, oh yeah, he only uses the little baby glossy accent bottle too. That's correct. He also says he only uses glossy accents to put his rock candy on, because Distress Collage Medium, let me see if I can, it sort of distorts and changes the colors a bit. I don't mind that. I actually like that. I can't, if you look at the photos of this card, you'll see it, but it's not showing up on the camera. They kind of got neon-y, right? Some neon look to them. So, but I like that. But again, it's whatever you would like. right? But I just love it. I just think it looks so magical. So then the last thing I want to do is I want to add my sequins, right? So remember I used my Lawn Fawn sequin die, okay? Can get all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And then whenever I have scraps of paper I think I'm going to want sequins cut out of, or if I have extras, I just have a clear bag in here with those. So it's all together. But I already die cut them, so we're going to go ahead and add them to the card as well. And I'm just going to make sure that they're all flipped over upright, so it'll be easier to use my pokey tool. Okay. So I'm going to use my pickup tool here. It has like the wax end, and it has a better poker tool that's not ruined like my other one. And I like to just add, oops, I just touched the glossy accents. I like to just add a dot of glue where you want your sequin, whether it's a paper sequin or a real life sequin. And I use my Lawn Fawn glue tube for this, but you could use glossy accents. You could use Distress Collage Medium. The thing why I wouldn't use glossy accents is because if any squeezes out, you might get a little shine show. And this dries clear and matte, so I'm not going to get a shine. Okay. I do not push down on my sequins. I let them just sit there because gravity will do its course and they'll kind of settle. But when you press hard, you're gonna end up getting glue oozing out of the sides, and I don't want that. So that's why I don't push hard. Okay, but you can see how easy it is to place these. Super, super easy. And now I'm gonna just do the same. I'm not reinventing my placement. I'm literally looking where I placed them originally, because when I first made my cards, I already anguished over it. So why anguish again, right? But you'll see we added the gray snowflakes in a diagonal from the upper left to the lower right. And we're adding the sequins in a diagonal from the upper left to the lower right, right? So we're kind of following that path. And it'll take about a half hour for these guys to dry, get all that Distress Collage Medium dry, and this glue to dry. But then we'll have 2 more holiday cards ready to go, right? All right. Am I missing any questions? Hi, Julie. Thank you for popping in. Miss you too. Yeah, the sequin die is a must-have die. It's so useful. You're going to use it so much. So much. But how fun. Even though the collage medium is still cloudy, I'm just looking at that sparkle on those edgings. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Let's see. Pippa says, I may have missed it, but where did you get that die with all the little stars, etc.? This is Lawn Fawn, Pippa, and I don't know if Brienne is still here, but in the description of the video, I have all the supplies linked. And in the chat, pinned at the top is my blog post is linked. All the supplies are linked there as well. So lots of easy Jennabling. Libby says, I should have ordered those sequins and made people carry and ship them all over the country for me. Libby got a big order of Lawn Fawn goodies, and Kelly Marie brought it to Ohio because Libby was supposed to be there. And then Brienne took it back. And yeah, her Lawn Fawn goodies are going all over the place. Thank you, Karen. She says, you always make glittering look so easy. The more you do it, the easier it is, and it's not messy. Right? It doesn't have to be messy. Amy says, thanks for the chunky glitter tip. I used it once and didn't care for the results. I will try using a pinch here and there the next time. Try it, Amy. I bet you're going to love it. All right, you guys, before I let you go, I will have another Get Crackin' on Christmas in November, and we're going to do another one in December, even though I think the third Thursday of the month is after Christmas. And then we're going to be back in January. So this is a series I do all year long, okay? So, but before I let you go, fall is a really, really busy time in the Creative Chick studio. And I'm offering several different types of classes, and I would love for you to join me. Witchy Wishes, if you're looking for some last minute Halloween card inspiration, maybe I inspired you to realize Halloween cards don't just need to be for kids. Definitely check out that self-paced Halloween class. I already taught Hello Beauty Fall live, but as with all of my online classes, you can take them at your own pace, and that's a really fun, unique fall palette. We're not using red, we're using pink. And then like Brienne and Libby were mentioning, this Friday I will be teaching with my East Coast Fawny bestie, Miss Shari, in S'more the Merrier. You all voted for the next stamp set that we would feature in our class, and so that is what we are featuring. It is a Friday. There are just not enough weekends in the day. Josie is coming down this weekend and working with me to get ready for my Creative Journey Art Retreat. So if you can't take a Friday class, just remember you can take it anytime that it works into your schedule. Mixed Media in Season is coming up live on November 1st. If you do want the exclusive stamp set shipped to you in time for class, make sure you place that order very soon. I am shipping those orders as soon as I get them. I'm like up here working, and then I run downstairs and get the label printed for you guys. But if you can't make it November 1st, you can take it anytime. I love these cards so much. And then I have Very Mice Holiday coming up. That's a fun holiday card class with the new caroling mice from Lawn Fawn. And then I didn't want you guys to think I was abandoning Cozy Cats. We used Cozy Cats in the free online class on Lawn Fawn's YouTube channel, but I am also going to be teaching with it in December. We're going to be making some winter greetings that you can use for last minute holiday cards, or use them for winter birthdays, or just use them for general winter greetings. So lots and lots of options there. So much fun. Check it all out over on my website. I would love for you to join me in a class. If you've never taken one before, or even if you have and you have any questions, you can reach out to me through my website, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you. So thank you. Denise says, so sad the sequence die set is out of stock. Make sure you sign up for stock notification. That way you'll get an email when it is available. You also can use the store locator on Lawn Fawn's website and see if any of the stores have it in stock. Some of my favorites are Papercraft Clubhouse in Connecticut, Scrappy Chic is in Michigan, Firefly Farm is in Minnesota, Stamp Fever is in California. There's a lot of fabulous stores that carry Lawn Fawn, so check out the store locator as well. Many of them have online websites. Thank you guys for you that joined me live. And if you're catching the replay, I appreciate that as well. And again, next month, third Thursday of the month, I'll post my project, and then we will do another live after that. Have a great day, you guys. Happy October.